Hi, I'm Ares from MWest Photography, and welcome back to another episode of Digital Photography Today, the show where you will learn how to become the master of your camera. In today's topic, we are looking at white balance. Now, if I take this sheet of white paper and I go outside and I look at the sheet of paper with my eyes, the sheet of paper looks white. If I go indoors and I turn on, say, a tungsten or a fluorescent light source, the piece of paper still looks white. So my eyes don't have a problem in dealing with the different light sources, but your camera does. And this is where white balance comes in. So if you choose the incorrect white balance when you're taking an image, you will change the color in the image. And the reason this is happening is that different light sources have got different color temperatures. And this is measured using the Kelvin scale. Now, before we take a look at the camera using the white balance function, I just first want to show you some examples of what happens when you change your white balance setting. If you look at this image taken on my Nikon D7000, where I did a cosplay shoot for the character Levi in Shingeki no Kyojin here in Tokai Forest, you will notice in auto white balance it looks okay, but Levi is a little pale and the greens in the background is also very muted. The moment I changed the white balance to daylight, the skin tones look much more natural and the greens also look a lot better. Now, this image was taken in daylight, so it's the best, so this white balance best suits this image. If I change it to cloudy, you will see the image becomes even warmer and still looks good. But when I change the white balance to shade, it's a little too orange. When I change the white balance to tungsten is when we see a big difference. Now the image gets a blue cast. Now, tungsten is much cooler, or is a much cooler light source than daylight, so the image looks terrible. A white balance of fluorescent will add green to the image. Then finally, flash white balance looks almost identical to daylight because flashes are balanced for daylight. And I was using a flash for this image. If you look closer at the image, you'll see in Levi's eyes, there are two white spots, and that's the catch lights from my flashes. Now, something that I think I forgot to mention when I started this video clip is that because we are working with different color temperatures, in other words, different light sources, if your white balance is set incorrectly, you will get different color casts. So it'll either be too blue or too orange or even too green. That's why it's important to set the white balance correctly to the situation you are shooting in. Now, auto works fine most of the time, but you'll notice sometimes it's a little too blue or a little too orange. You can fix that in Photoshop because there's a very important point I also want to stress. If you are taking an image incorrectly, in other words, you might have your white balance set to daylight, then you move inside the house, you take a picture of someone indoors. Now, indoors we're using a tungsten light source. So now you'll find that the person inside the house will look very, very orange. Now, to fix that in Photoshop, you will damage the file because the colors are now very orange and you need to fix it. But if the image is only slightly a little bit orange, you can fix that in Photoshop. So if the white balance is a little bit off, you can fix it. If it's off by a mile, it gets trickier and you will lose quality in the picture. Now, a very important point. You might now think, well, from now on, I'm just going to set my white balance every time. It's a good idea, but remember, if you forget to set it back, it's the same as when I showed you exposure compensation in a previous video. If you turn the camera off and you turn it back on, it still remembers the last white balance. So it doesn't reset back to auto. So if you shoot and you change your white balance settings, always remember, this is very important, change it back to either auto or to the new situation or the new lighting condition you are in. Otherwise, you're going to have all these weird color shifts. And that's also why I'm showing you white balance, because people play with their cameras. They say, oh, what is this white balance button? They press it, they change something there, they don't know what they did, and then later on people look like Smurfs, they're blue, or people look orange, or just stuff just looks wrong. So that's when playing with the camera settings was not such a good idea. So you can shoot in auto, it's not the worst setting ever, but you will notice the camera gets it wrong here and there. If you find that that happens, then just choose the right white balance and then you're sorted. So now we're going to look at the camera, and I'm also going to show you something very important. I like to think outside of the box. So if I'm doing a shoot, sometimes I see something, it's like, ooh, what if I use this and I change this on the camera and I add this to the picture and ooh, look at this picture. Then I've created something directly on the camera, which someone might say, oh, this was photoshopped, but it was taken that way. So what I'm going to show you is, I'm going to take the Nikon SLR now, I'm going to show you where the white balance setting is on that camera. And then I'm going to take the Canon PowerShot. It's got the screen on the back, so I can show you everything that I'm doing. So I'm going to show you that using the incorrect white balance sometimes gives you very cool looking shots. So let's have a look at the cameras quickly. Okay, when we look at this Nikon camera, this is an older camera. So you'll see the white balance button sits right here. On most of the newer cameras, it'll be right here on the back side of the camera. You'll see there WB for white balance. Now you might find that on your camera, the one that you're using, it might be in the menu system but not on the camera body, or it might be on the menu system and on the camera body. This changes from camera to camera. So grab out your manual and just look in the manual, where is your white balance button? Right, so now when I hold down this white balance button, you'll see here it has the WB for white balance. It says A for auto. That's the auto white balance. Now if I turn this little dial, this little wheel right here, now I'm going to tungsten. The next one is fluorescent lighting, and then I've got the daylight setting, and then the flash, and then shade, and then very important, which I use a lot, is the K setting. Now remember I said color temperature is measured in Kelvin. That's what that K is for. So the K does not mean 1000, it means Kelvin. So now I can use this wheel at the back and I can customly set the white balance here. Now this is great for shooting in a studio where you know exactly what the white balance will be, or if I'm shooting video and I know the Kelvin of my video lights, then I can set it in here and then I get the white balance looking perfect. Okay, so that is how you set the white balance on this camera. Now I'm going to show you on the SX50, we've got the screen. I'll show you some very cool stuff we can do. Okay, now on the SX50, what I've done is I've taken some ice cubes, put it on a plate with a black background behind it, and I'm using a video light which is daylight balanced. Now to first show you where the white balance is, if you go here to function set, you press that, you will see there it says automatic white balance, and it tells you it automatically adjusts the white balance setting for the scene. Here's daylight, here's cloudy, here's tungsten, fluorescent, and fluorescent with daylight, fluorescent lighting, and then also flash, and then also you can set custom white balances. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first take the image with a white balance of automatic. So there we've got the shot. Now what I want to do is I want to underexpose this shot. So I'm going to go back to Digital Photography episode 3 or Digital Photography Today episode 3, where we looked at exposure compensation, that button right there. I'm going to press that and I'm going to underexpose the shot. Now look how nice the ice looks now. Because I'm underexposing it, I'm getting a lot more detail on the ice. Right, now let's take the shot again. Now that is with the white balance at auto. So ice is white, so the ice looks correct. But now I said, let's think outside the box. Remember I said the video light I'm using is daylight white balance? Remember what happened when I took that image of Levi and I was using a white balance of tungsten, but I was shooting outside, which is also daylight. So I can go here to function set, use the white balance there at the top, and I'm going to go to tungsten. There's tungsten. So now I've got blue ice. And I'm going to call this shot Icy Blue. So now instead of going to Photoshop and creating this image, I'm doing it on camera by just using a setting which is actually incorrect. We usually want to have the white balance correct, but I want it incorrect to get a cool picture. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to even take it further and make it more blue. Now when we go here to function set and it shows me the white balance of tungsten there, it also tells me if I press the display button, I can adjust how that white balance must be. So I can make it even more blue. So I'm going to press this side of the arrow here, or the wheel, and I'm going to add more blue. And when I'm done, I just press the display button, go back, and it tells me there blue is on 9. So let's get the function away here, and let's take the shot again. Now the shot is even more blue. So if we go here to the image preview and look at that one and that one, you'll see the second one has got a lot more blue in it. So this is my picture for Icy Blue. Now I can even crop it on Photoshop just to bring it a little closer to what I actually want to see. Just cut out some of the boring stuff. because with the distance I am away from this plate, if I zoom any closer, the camera does not want to focus. Okay, that's all for this week's episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, think outside of the box. Just don't turn everyone into Smurfs. They're not going to enjoy it. Okay, so if you have a specific photographic question or camera related question, then please send it to askmwest@mwest.co.za. I can't reply to all the emails, but I use those questions for future episodes. So I will try and answer that question in a future episode. Okay, then also, if you would like to receive these episodes as they come out, I know you want to, then remember, just click that subscribe button. You know you want to. And then that's that for this week's episode. Next week, we are looking at ISO. And ISO can be your best buddy in the world, so you're going to look forward to that episode. But that's all from me for this week, so bye.